Live from KSAT 12, the Nightbeat starts right now.
And first on the Nightbeat, a man wanted by San Antonio police is dead tonight after refusing to surrender and instead threatened officers and said he had a gun. That's according to Chief William McManus. All of this happened earlier this evening in the 700 block of Broadway. McManus says the suspect was wanted on 3 felony warrants and that officers had been tracking him since yesterday. He says he was finally located in this parking lot when officers moved in. McManus says the suspect was instructed to get out of the vehicle he was in, but says he would not comply. He tells us the suspect's actions forced officers to fire their weapons.
He shouted to them, "I'm going to kill you. I have a gun." And he started digging in a bag or a backpack, which was in the car. And then at that point, the officers shot.
Now, the suspect has not been identified. McManus says the shooting is under investigation. Fire ripped through an apartment building on the northwest side last night, displacing all the tenants in that building. The flames destroying their homes and interrupting their daily lives. The Nightbeat's Devin Karp takes us out to Grissom Road to show us what's left in the daylight and to find out what's next.
The wind quickly let it grow to the full building and it just burned. It just kept burning.
Last night, Patricia Scarnato watched in terror as she saw the apartment building next to hers go up in flames. Flames that kept getting bigger and bigger, burning through the roof into the night sky, as you can see here in this viewer drone video.
You know, as you're coming over the flyover, as I was coming into town, you could see all the ladder trucks up, spraying water on it with the smoke. So it's kind of overwhelming for the guys when they first get on location because they're worried about the residents and their own safety at that time, especially when it's through the roof.
Assistant Fire Chief Chris Willis with the Leon Valley Fire Department says several crews worked on this fire, including firefighters from Chavano Park FD.
We attempted to make a stop on the fire, but the ceiling began to collapse. So we pulled back and went defensive.
He says thankfully there were no injuries. The fire was contained to Building 12. He says everyone from the building was able to evacuate in time.
Everyone was standing out just watching it burn. Couldn't do anything.
Patricia was able to take in some of her neighbors last night, giving them a safe place to sleep while they figure out what comes next.
They stayed with me last night, so they don't have any family here. They're out of town, so they're with a best friend now. And they ran out with their dog and her cell phone. They don't have anything else.
The Red Cross is working with all victims from Building 12, looking to find them long-term housing into the future. Willis says that roof collapsing, combined with the large amount of water it took to knock the fire down, has left the Building 12 condemned and unsalvageable. Leon Valley FD still has a fire engine on scene. Firefighters are keeping watch on those 12 units until the area is fenced off.
And then we'll start going through the debris on the outside, see if we can find anything that may provide the cause. It's still being under investigation.
I'm Devin Karp, KSAT 12 News.
Now, new on the Nightbeat, new safety measures are being put into place at the Smoke Sky Bar in downtown San Antonio. This comes more than a month after a tourist who was shot as she sat outside on the upper level patio. The bar's owner, Adrian Martinez, taking to Facebook to make the announcement. In the post, he says to increase security, he is downsizing and the venue will no longer host concerts. He also says the bar has a new security team. In July, San Antonio police say Aiden Burt was shot in the back moments after a gunshot was heard coming from Interstate 37. She was taken to the hospital where she died. Burt was a teacher and a coach from Jasper ISD and attending a coaches conference. So far, no one has been arrested in connection to this case. New on the Nightbeat, a tragic beginning to the weekend across the city as cars hit and killed 2 pedestrians in separate incidents. Bexar County Sheriff's deputies say a man was killed after being hit by at least one vehicle around 12:45 last night at the intersection of Highway 87 and FM 1516. One driver who hit him stopped to help and told deputies another vehicle, a white Jeep, also hit the man, but that driver did not stop. On the north side, a woman is dead, and San Antonio police have arrested a man they say is responsible for her death. Officers say a woman tried to cross Northwest Loop 410 when a pickup truck hit her. They say the driver in this case also did not stop. The woman was taken to the hospital where she died. Investigators say the driver was arrested after calling police to make a crash report for their vehicle. We're told police connected the driver and the vehicle to the deadly hit and run. He is charged with failure to stop and render aid. New details tonight on the Amber Alert for a 6-year-old boy out of Ingram, Texas. The Kerr County Sheriff's Office says little Cameron Parrish has been found. Deputies say he was found late yesterday evening, but say they are still looking for his mother, who's wanted in connection to Cameron's disappearance earlier this week that prompted that Amber Alert. Take a look at your screen. Law enforcement releasing these photos of 32-year-old Talia Graham and 39-year-old Joseph Graham. Talia is 5'3" with brown hair and green eyes. Police say Joseph is 5'5" with brown hair and brown eyes. According to Ingram Police, Talia Graham was last seen driving a silver 2014 Nissan Versa. They also released the Texas license number TLS 5425. Anyone with additional information on their whereabouts is urged to call the Ingram Crime Stoppers. The number is on the screen right there, area code 830-896-8477. The Salvation Army made sure that almost 2,000 kids got to start their school year off on the right foot during its 43rd annual Shoe-In for Kids event. The organization hosts this event every year, working with local school districts to identify students in school who need the most help. Families got to get a new pair of shoes for each kid, along with some free school supplies. The Salvation Army says these students leave feeling more confidence, which can help their performance at school.
It's like a step up, a step forward in the right direction. And you know, like if you go in confident, you feel better about yourself. You're probably able to achieve more even in your classes with grades and things.
Now, the Salvation Army was able to give away more than 1,800 pairs of shoes today and is already working to make sure next year's event is just as successful. All roads to the next year's March Madness lead right here to San Antonio, and the city is already gearing up for the men's Final Four. Today, the Final Four Fan Jam truck was launched. Its mission to get the city hyped with the first event. Hoops on Houston Street. Downtown Houston Street was transformed into a basketball extravaganza. Over the next 200 days, the San Antonio Local Organizing Committee, along with the city, will host various events all the way up to the Final Four that will take place on April 5th and 7th.
Final Four isn't just about basketball, but it's about community as well. And so we will offer so many community events that are free or at little cost to the community to come down, even if you don't have game tickets.
Now, 2025 will mark the 7th time for San Antonio to host a NCAA Final Four. Wells says the city could possibly see a $4 million economic impact from the upcoming March Madness. To find out where the Final Four Fan Jam truck will be next, you can go to final4sanantonio.com. Now, tomorrow officially marks the beginning of Hispanic Heritage Month, but San Antonio was kicking things off a little early today. The Consulate General of Mexico in San Antonio hosted the annual Fiesta Patrias El Grito celebration. Market Square was filled with live music, food, folklorico dancers, and booths. The free family event drawing a big crowd as attendees celebrate the 214th anniversary of Mexico's independence. If you didn't make it out today, the celebration continues tomorrow in Market Square beginning at 11 a.m.
Looks like a lot of fun out there. Just know if you are planning on heading out tomorrow, it is going to be another hot summer-like day. Mid-90s, that's what we saw here in San Antonio earlier this afternoon, thanks to a bit of sunshine after we saw those morning clouds break up. But we had the humidity in place as well, which meant that feels-like temperatures were able to climb into the low triple digits for a few hours. Then I think more of the same is going to be in store as we look ahead to our Sunday. Take a look at our day part forecast. forecast, mostly cloudy skies tomorrow morning, a warm and muggy start, 77 degrees to kickstart the day. A high still pointed in the mid to upper 90s in and around the Alamo City, feeling like the low triple digits. And you will notice that we have introduced an isolated chance for a stray storm, especially north and east of San Antonio between about 4 p.m. to 9 p.m. Now looking ahead, even into next week, temperatures are still going to trend warmer than average. Mid and upper 90s look to continue through the upcoming work week. When you factor in some of that humidity, heat indices near 100 are still looking to be a possibility, especially tomorrow and into Monday. In terms of rain chances, we just have that very small chance tomorrow evening, then generally dry into the upcoming week as well. We're going to break down all those details coming up a little bit later on.
Thanks, Mia. Well, the race for the White House is heating up. The presidential candidates pulling out all the stops this weekend as they make crucial stops on the campaign trail. What they have to say to voters, we'll have the latest on the race to the White House. With just 51 days until Election Day, the presidential candidates are on the campaign trail this weekend, making their case to voters in critical swing states. ABC's Christiane Cordero with the latest on the 2024 race for the White House.
Good evening, Pennsylvania!
Vice President Kamala Harris holding a rally with supporters in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania, Friday night. The VP hoping to chip away at support for former President Donald Trump in a county he's won twice.
The same tired playbook we've heard for years, with no plan on how he would address the needs of the American people. Well, folks, it's time to turn the page.
Her running mate, Governor Tim Walz, traveled to a different battleground state this weekend, attending a campaign rally in Superior, Wisconsin. Meanwhile, Donald Trump's running mate, Ohio Senator J.D. Vance, visited Greenville, North Carolina. The former president traveled to Nevada on Friday, looking to energize his supporters with promises of tax cuts.
And when I'm back in that beautiful White House, we will pass larger tax cuts for workers.
And doubling down on immigration, saying he will start mass deportations following a now debunked claim he made at the debate about Haitian immigrants hurting pets in Springfield, Ohio.
And I'm angry about illegal Haitian migrants taking over Springfield, Ohio. You see that mess, don't you?
Local officials have said Trump's claims about Haitians in their town are false, but the comments have created chaos, including several bomb threats at schools, medical facilities, and government buildings. The city is under strain from a population boom, driven in part by over 10,000 Haitian immigrants here legally under temporary protected status.
Anybody on the national stage that takes a microphone needs to understand what they could do to communities like Springfield with their words.
Christiane Cordero, ABC News, Washington.
Well, Mia, I know it's been summer-like for September. Please tell us, there's a little bit of rain.
There's a very, very small chance tomorrow. Better chances are going to be north of San Antonio, in the hill country, and even east of I-35. Most of us will miss out, unfortunately, but for those that do tap into a little bit of rain, a brief dip in temperatures will be a possibility. But other than that, and the big story, what's going to affect the vast majority of us, not just tomorrow, but even into the upcoming work week, is going to be those warmer than average temperatures. For context, our average high for this time of year is 90 degrees. We are slated to reach 97 tomorrow and even into Monday. That is 7 degrees above the average for this time of year. With a little bit more cloud cover returning into the middle to later portions of the upcoming work week, temperatures are still going to be warmer than average, but not as bad. More to the tune of the low to mid 90s, especially by Thursday and Friday. So let's go ahead and time it all out. 88 degrees right now here in San Antonio. When you factor in the humidity, though, it still feels like the low 90s out there. We have seen a little bit of a breeze from time to time. Winds generally out of the east-southeast at about 5 to 15 miles per hour. Through the overnight hours, those low temperatures are going to fall into the mid to upper 70s by wake-up time tomorrow. Mostly cloudy skies in store, very similar to what we saw out there earlier this morning. But then we're quickly going to see the sunshine take over by lunchtime, helping those temperatures climb, pushing 90 degrees 90s for any lunchtime plans that you may have around noon. Then into the afternoon hours, upper 90s expected, and by 4 p.m., that's when we're going to start to introduce that very isolated 20% chance for a stray shower or storm before the day is done. But first, here's a look at high temperatures across the area tomorrow. Mid to upper 90s will be a common theme in and around the San Antonio area. 96 in Floresville, 97 in New Braunfels. It'll be 96 as well over there in Bulverde. But when you factor in that humidity, note that your feels like temperatures are likely going to climb a few degrees higher than that. Very similar to what we saw earlier this afternoon as well. Heat indices exceeding that century mark. So low triple digits certainly will be a possibility. Be careful out there, especially considering that it is mid-September. This heat can kind of sneak up on you a little bit. Let's talk about that isolated chance for rain. Today we saw a little bit of light rain move across the Rio Grande, especially near Eagle Pass and Carrizo Springs. That activity is fizzling out and unfortunately will not make its way to San Antonio. We do have some Pacific moisture though that's filtering in thanks to Tropical Storm Ileana out there near Mexico, and also a stalled frontal boundary off to our north. That's going to work its way ever so slightly off to the south. It is not going to make it here to south central Texas. It stalls before it can get to us, but that boundary combined with additional moisture could be just enough to spark up that 20% chance locally for a few isolated storms in between 4 p.m. to 9 p.m. tomorrow. Most of us are going to miss out, but again, better chances will be across the hill country, north of San Antonio, and then east of I-35. If you do manage to tap into a storm, thunder, lightning, brief pockets of heavy rain will be possible, and perhaps some gusty winds as well. So we'll keep tabs on it. Hopefully we do find a little bit of rain, because notice, Erica, into next week, things are looking pretty dry and just hot around south central Texas.
I feel like those temps we had last week were just a tease.
False fall. I know. Better hopes of things to come later on down the road.
Thanks, Mia. Now, sports, Mary, I know there is a lot of football to talk about from high school to UTSA, and it was not another good Saturday for them.
Yes, that's exactly right. Things are looking bleak right now for the Roadrunners to start their 2024 campaign. And as expected, Texas dominates their Week 3 tilt. Highlights and post-game reactions coming up. Plus, we have BGC action, including a 12's top 12, top 10 matchup. We'll be right back.
But they hadn't done much on the ground in this game.
Oh, look at Arch Manning. Oh, hit him with the two-step. Arch Manning, touchdown.
The newest Manning to hit the scene had 5 touchdowns for Texas today. Next in Big Board Sports. It's strictly business for UTSA Week 3, trying to avenge its embarrassing loss to Texas State. But Texas, ranked 2nd nationally, has only impressed thus far. The Spurs on the sideline for this one, and it looks like some mixed fandom amongst the team. First quarter, Texas looking like the juggernaut that they are. Heisman frontrunner Quinn Ewers finds Isaiah Bond for the 7-yard touchdown. But after completing 14 of 16 passes for 185 yards, 2 touchdowns and an INT in the first 18 minutes of action, Ewers left the game with a strained abdomen. And in comes fan favorite Arch Manning. Manning takes advantage of the opportunity, throwing a touchdown pass right away. Then on the next series, showcasing his underrated athleticism, juking out the UTSA linebacker for a 68-yard rushing touchdown. The Longhorns come out on top 56-7, improving to 3-0. Now here's UTSA after the game, encouraged by improvements from last week, but now weathering the storm.
Frustrating night, but I'm really proud of my kids, how hard they played. And I know it doesn't look like it to you guys. We improved. Our penalties were down. I think we only had 2 or 3 penalties. We were more disciplined. We just played a superior opponent, and they're really, really good. Well, coming off last week, it doubled down on us, right? I mean, they know what the masses are going to say. They know what social media is going to say. They know what the media is going to say. So they're getting a double whammy for how we played last week. So we got to silence the noise outside. We got to keep staying in our building, keep listening to what we say, and we're going to be fine. And there was no hint of anybody cracking tonight.
We're pretty hopeful right now. I mean, we got beat 55-7, whatever the score was. But man, it looks a certain way. Like, you got to look a certain way, like how we lose, and it looked better than it did last week. So
All right, moving on in Gainesville, Texas A&M's backup quarterback Marcel Reed was excellent in his first collegiate start, while starter Connor Wegman rehabs an AC sprain in his throwing shoulder. Reed threw 2 touchdown passes and ran in for a score en route to a 33-20 win over Florida, snapping a 10-game losing streak on the road. In the process, the Aggies improve to 2-1. Texas Tech finally put forth a product it can be proud of after a shaky start to the season. The Red Raiders had a field day at Jones AT&T Stadium hosting the North Texas Mean Green. Baron Morton threw 4 touchdown passes and ran 10 yards for another as Texas Tech rolled to a 66-21 triumph. The Red Raiders tied a school record with 52 points in the first half. They improved to 2-1 overall. More scores around college football. A thriller in Fort Worth. UCF 3-0 in its debut season in the Big 12 after edging out TCU 35-34. Baylor cruises to a 31-3 win over Air Force to improve to 2-1. Now UIW falls to Southern Illinois. The Cards are now 1-2. They fall 45-28, and Trinity puts up 55 on Belhaven to move to 1-1. TLU takes care of Centenary 31-8. Now 2-0. Shifting gears now for some BGC action. Only 3 high school football games on the menu tonight, and we start with 12's top 12 top-ranked Steele and 7th-ranked Brandeis, 2 top 10 teams. But Steele has yet to meet its match this season, and that didn't change tonight. The Knights led 49-10 at halftime. QB Chad Warner and his receivers Jalen Cooper and Royal Capel were unstoppable in this one as Steele dominates the Broncos 56-10, improving to 3-0. Brandeis is now 2-1. The Holy Bowl taking center stage at Harlandale Memorial Stadium. Number 10 Central Catholic taking on 8th-ranked Holy Cross. Holy Cross dug deep into their playbook for this one, and it paid off. There's Luis Lopez forcing his way in for 6. Another instant classic between the two schools, and in the end, Holy Cross proves victorious 35-17 the final. The other game going on tonight, O'Connor defeats Warren by a point, 20-19 the final. All right, last night, 2 top 10 nationally ranked teams collided on the court. The 9th-ranked Dripping Springs volleyball team hosted number 5 Cornerstone Christian, and the match delivered top-tier volleyball and all of the dramatics. Cornerstone proved victorious in 5 sets, improving to 11-1 on the season. All right, coming up later in the show, we bring you to a local card shop where Victor Wembanyama made a special appearance. You do not want to miss this story. Coming up later in the show.
How exciting for fans there. Just not, was this expected, Mary? Or
no,
was this
total surprise, yeah.
I'm sure they loved every bit of that.
Yes.
Coming up next, college athletes chasing in on their own popularity. The opportunity to make money sounds good, but are there any pitfalls that could lead to a bad deal? KSAT explains the X's and O's of NIL. What is NIL? Name, image, and likeness. It's revolutionized college sports, and student athletes are getting paid. There's a big NIL effort underway in San Antonio. Myra Arthur asked the question, do the rules create as much gray area as they do money when it comes to making opportunities for athletes? Here's KSAT Explains.
It wasn't coaches, refs, commentators, or the biggest of school boosters who made this call. It was a power even greater than those, the U.S. Supreme Court.
A Supreme Court case called NCAA versus Alston.
In that case, a group of current and former student athletes alleged that NCAA rules violated the Sherman Act, which prohibits anti-competitive practices. The Supreme Court ultimately agreed with a lower court's decision and said the NCAA cannot limit education-related benefits for student athletes.
Justice Kavanaugh had a scathing concurrence in which he said that in almost any other industry, what the NCAA is doing is flat out illegal, and that the NCAA is not above the law.
That allowed name, image, and likeness laws to take the field nationwide. In fact, when that Supreme Court decision was made in June of 2021, Texas already had its own NIL law in the works. State lawmakers passed it the very next month. It allows student athletes to be paid for the use of their name, image, and likeness. For instance,
the student athletes have been able to get deals where they go and they sign autographs, for example, or where they get to go to an event and to be paid to actually be at that event.
The Texas NIL law also requires universities to approve NIL deals. It prohibits deals for things like alcohol, tobacco, gambling, steroids, or sexually oriented businesses. Plus, and this is a big one,
name, image, and likeness is not pay to play. That's still against the rules. This is not pay to play.
Pay to play has plagued plenty of college teams in the past, but so has the argument that college athletes devote years of their lives and their bodies to sports that make millions for universities. So why shouldn't they be compensated for it?
It's been going on for a long time. This levels the playing field. My name is Bob Wills. I am the founder of City Fans 210.
City Fans 210 is what's called a collective, a marquee player when it comes to name, image, and likeness. Think of a collective as a big pot of money set up for college athletes. Donors make contributions to these collectives that, at least in Texas, are mostly 501c3 nonprofits. Jones says that's one way for these groups to show they're not part of a university.
So basically, the booster at the university donates money to the collective, and the collective can try to use those funds to help the student athletes in promoting their name, image, and likeness.
City Fans 210 collects money to pay UTSA athletes.
Every month in the first of the month, they get a paycheck wired into their account from us.
So what do they get paid for? It could be a variety of things: appearing in a commercial, attending an event, even promoting a product on social media. Universities, which must approve these NIL deals, have to follow NCAA rules. But as for collectives,
hard and fast rules that you have to follow, or just don't break these rules and everybody's on the honor system?
Well, yeah, there are rules that are in place now. You know, you have some that are state law, state rules, and there's also NCAA. It tells UTSA and every other university what they can and can't do. We're not under jurisdiction by, it's a little bit of the Wild West, that there's no state laws that have been put into play that says what we can and what we can't do as long as we're doing things ethically.
This is all new to all of us, and we're all trying to figure it out, and also not get in trouble while we're figuring it out. We don't want to break a rule we don't even know we're breaking, because each state's different.
UTSA head football coach Jeff Traylor is navigating the new world that NIL has created for college sports.
The original intent is good.
Traylor says NIL means income, not only for his athletes, but sometimes their families as well.
They're the only source for many of their families.
It's a source that helps them focus on their education, too.
20 hours a week they're with me. They're student athletes, which means they're in class. They've got study hall. They got to sleep at some point, and it's impossible to have a job and do that as well.
But Traylor acknowledges the gray area and how some people could manipulate the rules.
Can't promise a kid something. That's against the rules. That's not what the rule was made for. Again, that's pay for play. And that's what I'm afraid of, is that it's gonna, just the rich are gonna get the best ones.
Whatever his players are paid, Traylor says he wants them to earn it.
Give back, go to an elementary school and read, help the homeless, food banks, rake leaves.
The impact of NIL might not just be felt by college coaches. Some states allow high school athletes to have NIL deals too, but Texas isn't one of them. At least not yet.
I don't think it's going to stay away too much longer for high school kids. The things that people don't even talk about are like the effect on the locker room.
It's going to be a bit of a learning curve as we try to figure out how the name, image, and likeness and the recruiting fit together. By the letter of the law, it should not be happening, but by all indications, it absolutely is happening.
The big money deals are few and far between. For a lot of his players, Traylor explains the money can mean opportunity, family support, and stability. But he admits there are questions.
I don't know how you're ever going to really know. Like, who knows what each kid's getting? Only the collectives really know.
Here in San Antonio, City Fans 210 is only one of several collectives benefiting UTSA athletes. Wills wouldn't get specific about what payments to athletes are in exchange for, saying he can't reveal details of a contract, but he believes a collective can have citywide benefits.
If the level of our game is elevated to a greater point, people are going to travel here. So that's our initial goal, is to get more people wanting to come to San Antonio. They can be our second pro team. They really can.
As the impact of NIL moves down the field, so to speak, whether further regulation follows, that will be the play to watch.
It's absolutely evolving, and it's changing every day.
Now you can scan this QR code to check out all of our KSAT Explains coverage. You can watch this story or any other KSAT Explains on demand. You can also find them on YouTube and the KSAT Plus app. We'll be right back.
Welcome back, everyone. Let's head outside with live cam this Saturday night. Temperatures gradually falling through the 80s. You felt the humidity out there today. And really this morning, we had the cloud cover built back in overnight. One of the reasons why it was a warmer than average start to our Saturday. 77 degrees was our official low temperature as we take a look at today's almanac data. 7 degrees above the average for this time of year. It was hotter than average earlier this afternoon. We hit 95, and that was only 4 degrees shy of the record of 99 that was set back in 2011. Taking a look at high temperatures across the region from today, 98 out east in Gonzales, Rock Springs, upper 80s. That was it, but it was a bit hotter out west in Del Rio, 96 degrees. Carrizo Springs was just 1 degree shy of hitting 100 earlier this afternoon. Now again, right now, those thermometers are gradually falling into the 80s. Already though, some upper 70s across portions of the hill country for places like Kerrville and into Rock Springs. We are expecting another hotter than average day out there tomorrow and even into the upcoming week. Another full check at that forecast, plus a look at the tropics coming up after this.
Now getting into the tropics, I know we've seen some storms this year in the Gulf. Are we kind of like, are we peaked, or we're still
over the peak?
Okay,
we're
good.
over the peak. So I'm glad that you actually brought that up, because Tuesday, September 10th, was the climatological peak of the 2024 Atlantic hurricane season. And a really good way to visualize that is by taking a look at this chart. Hurricane season officially runs from June 1st through November 30th. You can see the peak of that mountain, which was Tuesday. We are now over that, and we're going to start to get closer to, of course, to the fall season. And really, once we get into October and we start to see more fronts work through the area, it actually is harder for tropical systems to work into the western Gulf of Mexico. But this year, the peak of hurricane season coincided with what was Hurricane Francine working its way through the western Gulf of Mexico earlier this week. It made landfall along the central Louisiana Gulf coastline on Wednesday as a Category 2 hurricane. And since then, it has just been very slow to move out of the deep south. It's been slowly trekking up the Mississippi River Valley, dumping rain across portions of the southeast. You can see even right now the remnants of Francine still sparking some scattered rain across portions of Alabama and far west Georgia this Saturday night. Take a look at how much rain fell, though, for our neighbors off to the east just over the past 5 days. Near New Orleans, 9 to 10 inches of rain being estimated by authority radar. Over there in Florida, southwest of Tallahassee, almost 13 inches of rain being estimated. About 7 inches just to the north of Birmingham and about 5 inches near Memphis, Tennessee. So a lot of rain, some of which falling in too little time, of course, causing some flash flooding issues out that way. But conditions are starting to get rapidly better for those areas. I do also want to mention another disturbance that formed over the past couple of days out in the central Atlantic. This is Tropical Storm Gordon. As of the 10 p.m. updated from the National Hurricane Center, winds are sustained at about 40 miles per hour. It's currently working to the west-southwest at 10 miles per hour, so it is not moving fast at all. And you can see it's kind of just going to hang out over the central Atlantic over the next week or so. This is not expected to be a concern for the state of Texas, especially, and even the United States. But of course, something we'll continue to keep you posted on for the foreseeable future. Also is worth mentioning, there is another disturbance just off the East Coast. This has a 50% chance for tropical development. Regardless on if that happens, though, it is likely to bring some rain and perhaps even some gusty winds to portions of the Carolinas. And if you were curious, the next name on the list is Helene, followed by Isaac, Joyce, Kirk, and then Leslie. All right, back here at home in San Antonio, again, temperatures are in the mid-80s for most of us, a few upper 70s across portions of the hill country. Birding checking in at 79, at 77 already in Kerrville this hour. That is where we are expected to start off our Sunday here in San Antonio by 7 a.m. tomorrow. Mostly cloudy skies. We'll see some sunshine return by the afternoon. 89 degrees around lunchtime, and then there's that high temperature pointed around 97. Most of us in the mid to upper 90s. Like today, I think a few locations, especially south and west, could potentially approach that 100-degree mark. And we do have that 20% chance for an isolated shower or storm across portions of the hill country and east of I-35. Slightly better chance in between 4 p.m. to 9 p.m. tomorrow. Unfortunately, more of us than not will miss out, but fingers crossed, because after that, it is looking to be a generally dry week ahead and still hot. Hotter than average temperatures, lows in the mid-70s. Very muggy out there in the mornings, and those high temperatures still in the low to mid-90s.
Question, when is like the first day of fall?
September 22nd. So we're already in meteorological fall.
Okay.
But astronomical fall is Sunday, September 22nd. So we're getting close to it. You wouldn't know it, though, looking at this 7-day forecast. But hopefully we'll start to get some better
crossed.
signals. I know.
Thank you, Mia. Going now to Mary in sports. It's such a great sign to see Wemby out and about, because I know the Spurs season is finally going to start pretty soon.
Yeah, training camp later this month. Lots of excitement there. But yes, the global event Hobby Rip Night sees Victor Wembanyama get in on the fun at a local card shop. And we're also looking at some scores around the MLB, USL, and more coming up right after the break.
Hey, this is Victor Wembanyama, and we're here at Boomtown for Hobby Rip Night.
Imagine going to your local car shop and running into Victor Wembanyama. Special surprise at Boomtown, next in Big Board Sports. Spurs superstar Victor Wembanyama made a surprise appearance at Boomtown Sports Cards and Collectibles on the northwest side for Topps Hobby Rip Night. Wembanyama shared the evening with young Spurs fans, pulling cards and giving some away, making for a pinch me moment for not only the kids, but also Boomtown owner Vic Nava, who had to keep it a secret, Wemby's appearance for a few weeks ahead of the worldwide event.
This was a very, very amazing moment here in shop. It's something that I never thought would happen. I think everybody in here kind of felt the same way, the same euphoric feeling of just so surreal. You know, we come here every single day. We don't expect this type of, athlete to walk through the door, and to have him actually in-house, like I said, it was surreal.
How short did you really feel next to Wemby?
Have you ever stood next to the Eiffel Tower? There you go.
That's too good. All right, SAFC taking on Oakland Roots SC tonight, and they hold on for a 1-0 win. Lucas Solignac scored in the 4th minute. San Antonio currently in a chase for a playoff spot. This win certainly helps their cause. On MLB, Astros trying to go up 2-0 on their series with the Angels, and this score actually just went final. Houston wins it 5-3. They'll look for the sweep tomorrow. And the Mariners and the Rangers trying to bounce back from a loss yesterday. Another one that just went final. Seattle takes it after being close for a majority of the game, 5-4. And another look at the Week 3 final between UTSA and number 2 UT. Arch Manning came in for an injured Quinn Ewers, who was out with a strained abdomen, and passed for 4 TDs and ran 67 yards for another touchdown. UTSA's lone touchdown was from Robert Henry, and he was injured in the game. UTSA hoping to walk away from this one without a bunch of injuries. All right, we'll be right back after.
All right, it's going to be hot out there tomorrow. Definitely not feeling like mid-September, so just be careful out there and have a great rest of the day.
That's all the time we have tonight. Thanks for watching.